This is the 8-9 combo. I'm Brett McKay. This is Harry Jones, and this is Games of the Week. Hello, mate. It's the end of a rugby week again.
How's it, Brett? Yeah, it's looking like some of these leagues are blending into one. On Games of the Week, I know we have to really distinguish, but I'm starting to just have a difficult time distinguishing between Japan and the ERC and top 14. So hopefully we can get it all unscrambled for our viewers and listeners this week.
Yes. It's this time of year is everyone's into the groove. Everyone's just sort of hitting their routines. It's like recover Monday, train Tuesday, talk about it Wednesday.
Well, in Australia, it's all about one guy. It's the one guy that showed up to camp. And that's what everyone's talking about. But we'll see. We'll talk about him on Monday, I think.
We will. We'll talk about him, Joseph Suali'i, next week. I popped out to the Wallabies camp earlier in the week, and there's an imposing size about him. But yes, we'll talk about that next
week. He's lankier than I thought he was.
Yep. Yeah. But surprisingly tall. So you'd make a good. If you didn't know he was an outside back, you'd swear he was a lock. So there you go.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So the end of another rugby week is here, and make sure you do go back and check episode 36 of the 8-9 Combo Rugby podcast with the Rocket Foot Academy goal kicking coach Vian Thunderit. A super technical but really enlightening chat, mate, wasn't it? With an expert of the field. I really enjoyed that chat earlier in the week.
Yeah, I think one of the great things about rugby, and in contrast to some sports, which, sometimes the complexity of rugby is one of our banes of our existence, and sometimes it's what makes it delightful.
Yes.
You can crawl into about 17 different facets of rugby and kind of rabbit hole yourself to death. And, I thought that was great. I thought it was interesting to think about the approach to the ball. So I think you pointed this out. Now I just want to watch kickers. I want to really study them. Free frame.
Took Tommy the dog for a walk one afternoon earlier this week, and there's a kid down the oval kicking at goals with his dad, and I'm glued at his lie angle of the ball.
Thinking, awkward interruption. Excuse me, sir.
Yeah. Sorry, mate. I'm a recent expert on this subject.
I'm smarter than your dad about kicking.
So go back and find it. It was a really, really good chat, and we certainly enjoyed it. We're back into the original Games of the Week format, and we're going to do something different after we go through these games. So we're going to whip through these real quick, mate. URC round 5 looks to be a round of top 8 playing bottom 8 is how I would summarise this weekend. Ospreys, Ulster and Ospreys in Belfast kicks it off on Friday night. That's as well as Scarlets and Bulls in Clonelly. Then Saturday it's Zebre Lions in Palmer, Sharks Glasgow in Durban, Stormers Munster in Cape Town, Edinburgh Cardiff in Edinburgh, Connaught hosting Leinster in Galway, and the Dragons and Benetton in Newport. Round out the weekend. What's your pick? What are you looking at there?
Yeah, you can tell that your point is well made in terms of the Harry Index, which shows that there's not going to be much movement in the ERC positions on the overhead because they're not really playing anyone that can threaten them. So it's almost like the must-win comes from the bottom, which is, could a team face a must-win match this early in the season, or more accurately, do they kind of cannot afford to get beaten up at home? And I think the Sharks and the Stormers are in that position. So even though a win is not going to change anything right now, but the bipolar Sharks got to show something when they face the gritty champions from Glasgow.
Yeah.
Glasgow is gritty. It's grit personified. But I think the more desperate team to show something is the Stormers, who really should win about 11 or 12 matches this season, but it doesn't look very good. They host Munster, that recreates that sort of weird final that Joseph Dwebber was talking big noise about, and then Munster came and just embarrassed us. So I think there's a little bit of a spice there. And so the Stormers generally are a very good home team, and that actually goes way back to Super Rugby even. There's a tremendous difference between being home and away. So I think it's time to show that they are actually still a good team, because the week ago it looked like they didn't know how to play rugby.
No, and you're right. I mean, they've one win out of 3, and it's worth pointing out as well that the Sharks and Stormers have a game in hand. They both didn't play in the first weekend, so They both have a game. It's an interesting one, this one. Like the Stormers are 16th. Munster
Bottom.
7th.
The bottom. We're the worst.
They are the bottom. They are 16 of 16. And the Sharks, like Glasgow's second. So 14th against second is the Sharks there as well. So I think you might be onto something. It's not must win, but there are must win elements to both of those games, I think.
South African teams don't really Stormers don't really put up with this kind of performance for very long. John Dobson has not had that for a while. So if he loses kind of decisively to Munster at home, I think there's going to be plenty of people who are already calling for his head who will now say, "See, I told you so." So I do think it's a lot of pressure there. And also I think that both the Sharks and the Stormers projected, you look at the team sheet, you go, you should be at least 10 or 11 or whatever wins. So you start to run out of mathematics if you don't win now. You're going to have to run the table. So I think it's as close to being a must-win as I can think of this early in the season.
Yep. No, I think that's a really good point. It's round 5 of the Premiership in England as well. Kicks off with Newcastle and Exeter in Newcastle upon Tyne Friday night. And Northampton Sale is Friday as well. And then on Saturday is Bristol Saracens over there at Bristol, Harlequins v Bath at the Stoop, and then Leicester and Gloucester rounds out the round on Sunday. The pick there is Bristol Saracens. There's no question. That's 1v2 already. And there's not a lot of different. Like their points for and against is similar. There's only 1 point competition point separating them as well. Saracens be annoyed at losing to Quins last weekend. Bristol have been tracking along pretty well. I think that is going to be a really interesting game.
Yeah, the only one that really gave me pause besides that would be the Saints against Sale. But I do like the idea of this Bristol match. I always think when I think of Bristol, I think of Treasure Island, because in the beginning scene, Jim Hawkins goes away and that's where he meets Long John Silver's in a bar in Bristol. So I've always kind of imagined Bristol as being full of bars with one-legged pirates.
With pirates, yeah.
But it's
the
so,
Bristol Pirates.
It's so close between them that the points differential is only 3 points difference between Bristol and Saracens. So
it's nothing.
It's just really one of those early season tasty, who's really the boss? No, we're the boss, you're the boss. I would say Bristol probably is one of the surprises so far of the season.
Yep.
So
that's a good shout.
Yeah.
Northampton Sale is 7th v 5, and Northampton probably do need to win and show that they are still a decent team. But loss now won't be the end of the world, I suppose. But we'll see how it plays out. It's round 6 of the top 14 in France this weekend. It's round 7, I beg your pardon. What's your pick there? What are you thinking?
Well, it's been a very curious season so far. I mean, DuPont was out for Toulouse, so you kind of have to take everything there with a grain of salt. But some of the teams like La Rochelle have been starting off very volatile up and down. So I think they're almost in danger of dropping out of the Harry Index, at least, because they just not only just losing, sometimes really losing. So they got
done by 30 last week.
Yeah, so the only team that's been marching along has been Bordeaux. Bordeaux is just kind of looks like the team of the year so far. So I think I'm going to go with that matchup. Bordeaux against La Rochelle
Bordeaux in La Rochelle on Sunday. It is
in La Rochelle. It'll be the final match of the weekend of rugby probably. So it'll be one of those games where you think they would show up. La Rochelle would.
They would. Yes, they need to. Seems like a funny thing to say about round 7, but I think they need to.
Well, I think so. In the top 14, it's such a home and away thing, and La Rochelle has always put all of its eggs in the home basket. So I think that you'll see the best version of them so far, at least. And I think Bordeaux is just a fun team to watch. So it's not only just the closeness of the game or what it means on the table. For me, I just like watching a game where I like the way a team looks, and Bordeaux is super fun to watch.
Yeah. The table's interesting. La Rochelle 3rd on 18 points. Bayonne in 10th on 14. Bonus point win between 3rd and 10th. So that's cool. It's semi-final time of the NPC in New Zealand. Bay of Plenty v Canterbury in Tauranga on Saturday afternoon. That's 4th against 6th from the original standings. And then Wellington v Waikato in Wellington Saturday night. That's 1st against 7th. That'll be interesting just for humour value. I mean, the quarterfinals threw up a couple of upsets, you'd have to say, last weekend. So, 6th and 7th in a couple of semi-finals. Who knows what could happen this weekend?
I'll go with the Steamers. I never really liked Ryan Crotty, who's on the bench for Canterbury. I think he's kind of one of those guys who he looks like a nice guy, but I think he's regularly a son of a bitch.
Fair enough. All right. Fair enough. All right. Fair enough. All right. So
if I ever meet Ryan Crotty, I'll still buy him a beer. It'll be good.
Of course you will. Of course you will. Here's then where we're going to get into something a bit different. And I can't believe that we've not done this before in 3 years of podcasting. We are going to delve into jersey talk. We are going to now go through the best and worst of the jerseys in this new European season. And we are just talking about the competitions. I know they all have third strips for Europe competitions and all that, but we're just going to look at the competitions themselves. And so after we had Vian funded it last week and shared some photos and things like that, we're getting overconfident. So we're going to look at some jerseys on screen. Yeah,
I'm not pushing any buttons.
This could be true. So let us start with the Premiership, and I bring to you straight away what I am calling, and I think you've had some hand in this. This is the best of the Premiership as in our that's Bristol Bears there on the left, Harlequins on the right. I mean, Quinn's jersey doesn't really change much, does it? It's hard to change something you've literally in your name.
It's always very gesterish. I do very much like your pick there on the left. I like that the wide stripe of white. Yeah.
I need to preface this by saying Hoop rugby jerseys will always get me on board. And that Bristol one this year is just simple but effective. It's sharp. I like it a lot. But having said that about Hoop jerseys, I'm now going to show you these two, Northampton on the left, Bath on the right. Now, their jerseys last year were both fantastic. This year, I put it to you that they are the same thing. Change Bath blue for green and white for yellow, and that is the same jersey. Did their designers met in a pub, didn't they? And they went, this is what we're doing. Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Cool. Lunch.
There's also a thing I don't like, which is when the sponsor is too either conspicuous or it mars the otherwise beautiful aspect. And I kind of don't like. I don't like that 2, 3, or 4 sponsors going on over there.
Yeah, 2 lines of sponsorship I think is getting a bit far.
Pushing it. Yeah, it's like Formula One or something.
Yeah, well, it's France, dare I say it. I mean, Bath have produced a lot of very, very good jerseys over time, but I'm not sure this is.
Well, they have great colors. Like it's almost hard to mess it up. Yeah.
Blue, you can't get much wrong with blue, black, and white. That's very true. Northampton's away strip is actually quite good, white with a bit of green up through the middle. So I suppose they get some points off there.
I always think the Saints just doesn't look as good as the Tigers, and I kind of view the two as kind of similar. And I always prefer the Leicester craziness over the boring Saints.
Then you're going to like the next strip because this is the worst. You threw up Exeter. I'm not a fan of that Leicester strip at all.
That particular version of Leicester is really scary.
Andre Pollard.
It's very weird. It's like he's wearing some kind of girdle or something around the bottom part.
Not sure what's going on with Exeter. They seem to have
Nico
Rosberg there on the left.
It's non-committal. Yeah. They're not really committing to a thing or an idea or a theme, and they also always manage to make their props look fat. And I think you should always make sure your props look okay in your jersey.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan. I'm not. Saracens can thank Exeter buggering up black and white, because otherwise I think Saracens jersey this year is a bit boring as well, and they'd be in here. But
There's also a thing on Leicester. There's a thing where jerseys look bad in a photo shoot, but then they look okay on the field. I always feel like they look kind of cool when they're playing, but when you look at it, like right there, right now, it doesn't look good to me at all.
No.
Yeah.
When you stage content days make your jerseys look bad, that's not a good thing. Let's move to the Irk.
Ooh.
Cardiff on the left, sorry. The Lions on the right. Now, I've cheated here a little bit. You were a big fan of Cardiff's jersey last year, and I said, well, look at this year's because it's even better. That is magnificent.
Isn't it? I love the staging of those lines. Like you look closer and closer, and you see this kind of gradation, almost like a perfect spreadsheet.
Yes. They've been into the custom colors option there, haven't they? I've cheated a little bit here with the Lions because that is actually their European strip, but I love that. The black and the white down through the middle looks fantastic. And they've used that Joburg skyline silhouette for a few years now in a few different versions, but that looks so good. I love that.
I also like the fact that I think I can line out and make you look really tall. Like you just walk up there and get that vertical stripe. You look like you're like 10 feet tall.
That's not a bad shout too. Yeah. So they are very, very good. Which brings us on to
that red is also very good. Some red is too much. That red is tasteful. So
I think it's the black and white breakup is perfect. Yeah. This is the worst of the Irk. That is Ospreys on the left, Zebra in the middle, and controversial. I think Ulster's home strip is too plain. It is just white. There is nothing else going on.
I can never speak ill of Ulster, but that Zebra jersey is complete maledetto shit. It looks like a joke. It looks like someone has lost some kind of bet, or there's been some punishment that you have to wear that, because it's just horrible to have that big love sign in the middle and it's jarring between the stripes coming down on the shoulders. Like
Zebra's home strip is predominantly blue with a bit of gold and white trim across the shoulders, and it looks pretty good. But that looks terrible.
I mean, even Sergio Parise would look unsexy in that.
Yeah. Ospreys there on the left, they've got a pastel type arrangement. And look, I'll give them credit, Ospreys, because last year they were running around with a white jersey with a massive version of their logo across the front of the chest. And that was horrendous, which I never thought would be topped. 12 months later... They've done it.
That's so amateurish. That looks like something
horrendous.
That's like, just some club, third division. Someone just threw that together and said, "Look, my friend, my girlfriend does stuff us." Yeah,
I have a collection of pastel paints. Maybe we could just throw something at a canvas and see what we come up with. Yeah, exactly. Good idea. Brown and grey and blue, and that's horrible.
Yeah,
let's move on. Let's move on to France.
There, yeah.
Let's move on to France so I can stop looking at that. Now, my photo of Owen Farrell in the Racing strip on the right has not actually come up particularly well, but that was my pick. You threw Bordeaux at me straight away, and it's got very strong Queensland State of Origin vibes, but I do like it's clean. It's very clean. I'll give you that.
I think it's fun that just so they're Bordeaux, so they're just embracing it. That looks like you're just drinking wine.
It's a deep red. Yes, you're right.
They're wearing wine. And I also like the fact that even though they have to have 17 sponsors, they somehow make it work. It kind of, it doesn't jar me, the different colors on it. And I also like the fact that you've got a serious color without going to all black. Extreme. It's a strong color though. It's a serious color.
Yeah. That's a modern day rugby color, isn't it? Yeah. I take your point about 5 sponsors. You look at Racing strip there, even there's whoa, there's a lot of advertising going on there. So yeah, that's fair. The worst, this is not going to be good either. Perpignan, Stade Francais, and La Rochelle. Give me your description of the Perpignan jersey.
Yeah, I don't want to anger anyone of that region because I know they're very feisty, ferocious people. But it looks like where like you had maybe not the Tour de France, but like whatever the tour that's not as good as the Tour de France, and that's the jersey you get for being the king of the mountains, which triggers seizures in those guys that stand too close to the cyclists. And then it's like the cyclist who wins it throws up and upchucks on himself. It's horrible. And even when you show the socks, it becomes even worse.
Oh,
It's
I think it's
just seasick.
I think it's the raggedy edging on the stripes. It would be hypnotizing, I think, if they jumped around too much.
And also the kind of orangey red, not quite orange, not quite red, and the mustardy color. It's like paprika and mustard. It makes me ill.
Stade Francais, I put it to you, have not had a good jersey in 15 years. That is just the next one of a very long line of crap.
It doesn't look like rugby. It's what it doesn't look like at all.
No. I
don't know what sport that is, but it's not a rugby looking thing with those little lightning strikes.
It looks like Sunday social 2020 cricket.
Yeah, or like, I don't know, like a tennis player from the old Yugoslavia.
Yeah. Tell me I'm wrong about this La Rochelle jersey because I hate that. It looks like they have borrowed wallpaper from your grandmother's house.
Well, as you can tell, I'm pretty much always anti-yellow. And so that just unites two different kinds of yellows. And I don't like the one on the sleeves. It's particularly offensive to me. I don't like it.
Yeah. Their home strip is sort of the same design, but it's black and yellow on the front. And it's not much better, but that looks... I'm not a fan of that at all.
I'm buying that for you. I'm gonna get that.
No, don't.
Ship it over.
I will send it back to you.
That's a nightmare right there.
I will absolutely send that back to you. That is just, it's just horrible. No,
that was pretty
nothing
fun.
about that I like. That was good. So
it's like certain doctrines emerged, and I think one thing is I think it's really important in jersey design to like know who you are, who your club is, embrace that, and don't just don't like wildly veer into strange territory.
Yes,
stick with what you are.
Look, I had an exchange on Twitter in the last 24, 36 hours when we put this out there and said that we're going to be doing this. Send in your suggestions. So me putting Ulster's home strip in there will not please Rian Lowe because he threw their black away strip in as one of the best of the URC. So
that's pretty cool.
We're gonna have to get him back on board. But there was a suggestion. There was a little exchange that I had there that said that lots of clubs, particularly around their away strip, go with something that's terrible because A, it gets people talking, as we've just done for the last 15 minutes, and B, people still buy it for novelty and probably 15 years down the track. Remember when they wore this?
I do have a tangerine Stormers jersey, and I do like it actually. Well, that's a big thing in soccer, right? So Liverpool will have its classic, and then its other classic, and then it'll have the European one is just crazy. You go to Turkey and wear this thing, it's going to be like a teal color or something.
Yeah.
So I get it. It's it's all part of the game, and rugby has to be pro.
And I get even that, all right, if we're going to be playing in Europe this year, we need to make a statement. But I think the Lions one shows that you can maybe just look great.
Yeah, I still like it when he evokes something from so a Stormer for me always has to have some sort of blue and white in it, has to have some kind of idea of stripes. And then you just want, when you look at the blue Bulls, it's just got to be that super light blue. It's annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They went off piece there for a few years when they started wearing like army fatigue type away strips. And I was like, what's really going on there in Northern Transvaal? But there it is, mate, full time on another games of the week. And I expect that there will be universal agreement with our selections for the best and worst jerseys of the Northern season. I can't imagine there'll be any criticism for anything that we've picked. It'll just be good selections. You've done well. But obviously let us know what you think. We should do this again when Super Rugby starts, I think.
Yeah, we should do the Japanese league too. I haven't even looked at them very
Yep.
closely, and I imagine they're pretty fun because their mascots are insane.
Their mascots are off the charts. Yeah, that's a good shout. So when are they underway again? December. Yeah, we could probably get that in before we go on a little break over Christmas. But either way, tell us what you think at the 8-9 combo on all the socials. Leave your thoughts in the comments section right here on our YouTube channel, or tell Harry and I on the socials in our usual places as well. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube, you're following on the platforms wherever you tune in, and make sure you've got the notifications turned on however you consume us. This is Games of the Week from the 8-9 combo, the short side set piece combination you didn't realize you needed, coming from the podcast double act you already had. I'm Brett McKay. He's Harry Jones. And we'll be back in your ears next week.
Come play with us. Ooh.
Yeah.
Extra. You can click that thing.